maybe I'll start and just kind of back it up a little bit to when Colin Kaepernick, first started taking the knee on the field. There were a lot of, I won't say it's a lot of police brutality that was happening. It was a lot of police brutality that was being captured on film. Now that was being aired to everyone. And he decided to use his platform, his stage, to protest peacefully, not against America necessarily, not against the flag, but the institutional racism that has been eating away at a lot of the way America, was built, from our education to our policing to our healthcare, et cetera. It runs deep. So he was taking this silent, protest on this beautiful stage that he had for his voice, didn't even use it, and then after that, all this backlash. Oh, he's disrespecting the flag. He's disrespecting veterans. He's disrespecting, America. And it just, a lot of, I think, what he was trying to do got lost in translation, maybe because it was a form of protest that he took. But, even now bringing it to what just happened, 2 weeks ago, where this person who is in charge of leading this country, singles him out as doing something totally wrong. So now the movement went beyond just race and police brutality to, are you American? Are you a patriot?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you were, you wouldn't be kneeling down during the flag, nor would you be a white supremacist, right? But he came out, and then all the other, the owners of the football clubs and the players, they started protesting Trump, to say that you can't tell us how we protest. So it just kind of really got muffled what he was trying to do, and now we have here this just divide on who's American.
Well, Amber, I'm glad you brought it back to kind of the origins. Why did Kaepernick kneel in the first place? I want to take it back even further, because this was the piece of news that I hadn't even understood before, people got into, well, he wasn't hired on or drafted because of his skills. It's not about what he did as kneeling or whatnot. So in 2009, the players wouldn't even come out to stand or sit for the flag, right? They would be in the locker rooms and they'd come out afterwards. But in this post 9/11 world, they sought, how can we bring back in our sports arenas this notion of celebrating American pride, right? And that's when they started bringing the football players out, having folks stand and salute to the national anthem, and that really makes me think, okay, so if we can use the symbol as, its own marketing technique, which is really what the NFL did back in 2009 to create this marketing technique around the symbol, why would it not be just as fair, if not better, to use that symbol as an opportunity to do one of the most American things, which is protest, which is speak up and stand up against the things that you think need to be fixed. So that's one where there's a couple memes that I've seen that really hit it home for me, which is, Rosa Parks wasn't protesting a bus, right? Gandhi wasn't protesting the food, right? These are systems of injustice that people are protesting, but because it's this symbol, this image, the flag that we tie inextricably from, patriotism, from America, from the vets who fight for America, it seems like people have really lost the symbolism behind that, which is freedom and equality for all. And that's exactly what he's protesting. And I've talked to a number of vets who've said, I'm more upset by people speaking for me and telling me what is honoring me and what is not honoring me than somebody deciding to sit and speak up against, I fought for this person's right to kneel, to stand, kneel, to dance, to however they want to interpret or interact with this symbol. So I think it's important to get the full picture of beyond pre-Kaepernick, how, when we're sitting down on NFL Sunday, I have never during Super Bowl Sunday seen anybody stand up in our house mid salsa dip to stand up and salute the flag. So I just think we need to be getting our priorities and our realities in a row here. What about you, Michaela?
I mean, I totally appreciate what you're saying, like thinking about, the history of this and, what Kaepernick really wanted to say. And when you think about, you know, the national anthem and the Star Spangled Banner underneath an umbrella of, you know, white supremacy, were those, you know, really created for people of color, you know, or were they created under, you know, this other type of umbrella for people who now seem to have an issue with what Kaepernick is doing? Because when you take a look at the Star Spangled Banner and read the words, there are some, you know, things and phrases within the Star Spangled Banner that lets us know this banner, Star Spangled Banner was not created, you know, for Black people. It talks about keeping Black people enslaved. And so, you know, not saluting these types of symbols of America, I think, like you said, is very American. I think it's all right, not just to quote unquote protest or cause a ruckus, but to bring awareness, you know, to the main issue. And I think that main issue is that this country was founded for certain people to thrive. And that if we're really going to create a system that is more equitable for all people to thrive, we need to go back and kind of look at the foundation, because if there are cracks in the foundation, like, it won't take long before your house tumbles, you know? So how about we go back a little bit and we're more open to looking at both sides of it, but really kind of like understand that there is nothing wrong with bringing awareness. And if there was, you know, this level foundation where everyone felt appreciated and valued, then there wouldn't be a cause to protest. And so let's really look at the heart behind what he's doing. Let's look at, you know, the reasonings, and be open to the fact that he's a person who feels negatively affected. And let's have a conversation around it before it seems like we always want to attack and we always want to polarize ourselves. It has to be this or that, you know, right or wrong, Democrat or Republican. No, you know, let's create a middle ground where people can come together and learn and bring awareness, and not shut ourselves off and make this a competition over who's right and who's wrong.
It's a seeking to understand piece, right? And you know, that's interesting that you mentioned the Star Spangled Banner lyrics, because it's also in the national anthem, a verse that was removed that talked about rounding up, you know, the British troops offered freedom to slaves who would fight on behalf of the British army against what they saw as these American rebels, right? These pre-American rebels. And so that's a line in the national anthem that's been removed. And Cap wasn't even protesting against those lines and those lyrics, and and the fact that these songs and these symbols don't represent equal opportunity to all, though they should. That has not been their practice, their use. I mean, to then, I feel like, you know, we've talked about the conspiracy of silence, Dr. Darrell Wing Sood's, you know, book on microaggressions, on dynamics and discussions around race. And I think it's that co-opting of the original, what it was that Cap was arguing about, what he was protesting, that's really gotten lost, you know, in this, are you pro-vet or are you not? You know, and it's baffling to me that we're seeing this dynamic, that you either support Cap and therefore don't support troops, or the vice versa. And it's that exactly what you're talking about, the right or wrong. There has to be a way to want to support him in his protest against police brutality and still respect the people who fought for and behind, you know, the American flag and what it symbolizes, or what it should symbolize to everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like this has been like this ongoing psychological battle, right? You know, are in a situation, you see something right in front of your eyes, or it happens to you, and then you're led to believe that, oh no, nothing about what you saw has anything to do with, you know, and we use that a lot when we talk about race. You know, we like to throw this counter narrative like, oh no, you're throwing out the race card. Race has nothing to do with it. And you kind of just keep pushing it away as much as you can to get far from it, because you don't want to get to the truth. You know, when we talk about going back and, you know, understanding the history of this story, and it's hard for, you know, at least me, I was in a public school in Virginia. And now I come to find out they weren't even teaching us the truth. You know, I'm going to school and I'm learning like this propaganda almost that, oh no, we were always equal and da da, and and it's just, it really messes with your mind when you try to say, no, I think it does have something to do with race, and they are actually targeting Black males unfairly. Like, that's the conversation. And there's one piece of like raising that awareness, and I read this quote that like, we're beating diversity and inclusion awareness to death. Like, that's the movement now, instead of moving towards now action. And so you protest, you take a knee, now what? People are wanting to see what you're going to do after that. People are waiting to see what Kaepernick is doing, and he is doing stuff to really turn the tables and make this a much larger conversation. But like, that site is psychological warfare, saying you're not experiencing anything you just felt. It's a dream.
He's building awareness, and like they say, the first step to fixing a problem is admitting that you have a problem, and like what this awareness is doing. And there's no way you can, I think, beat awareness to death, right? Because you need to get everyone into the conversation. And just think about what our social media feeds look like now, what the news is talking about. Unless you're hiding under a rock, you're hearing about this issue. And so what it's doing is making people choose sides. But just imagine if you could create this awareness and people really kind of dug deeper and explored and really got to the bottom of, why is this brutality happening with one segment of the population at an increased level than it's happening in other segments of the population. And if we could really get back into the heart of why he started this, and get past some of these, Trump said this, or, this is the reason why I feel this way, and just say, no, go back to the main issue at hand, and don't allow these distractions to take us away from the real conversation. I'm wondering how impactful that would be if we kind of ignored, some of the key players that are coming in and throwing their opinions, which causes us to realize that they don't even understand the true reasoning behind, this protest, to continue building that awareness and to elevate that issue to a stage that's national. And let's have a real conversation around it, and not, just people throwing their opinions out there.
Yeah, I love that. So we are America, and we have a racial problem, right? I mean, and really the problem is our inability to talk about and celebrate just people from all different backgrounds. So it's a diversity problem as much as it is a race problem. I think about, the number of people who have been, of disabled people who have been targeted by law enforcement and misunderstood. And it just gets back to just, we don't understand each other. And we're not taking the time to understand each other. I think it might have been post-election itself where I really took a reflection back and said, as much as I've been yelling into the ether or speaking even to family members who think different, who are thinking about voting for Trump, it was just me yelling and advocating for my position. I never stepped back to say, let me just understand what's bringing you here. And so I think that's the piece that we're going to be, that where our work is cut out from us, is how do we disrupt that automatic, I need to defend against or support for, there's always a for and against. We've lost any middle ground where a complexity of positions can be held, where you can both support, as we mentioned, the heroes and courageous people who've gone overseas, who've even, defended the country anywhere. We could also, at the very same time, criticize if there's something about the systems that we don't feel are perfect, and we just really have created these zones of society where to speak to any criticism is to be against its entirety. To speak to any criticism against police brutality is to therefore be anti-cop. And we've created these default positions. I think all it is a lack of understanding. And maybe as a society, we've been too lazy to really dig deeper. It's so much easier to categorize people, right, Amber?
I say it's like we got dumber. a little bit, which is this influx of information. Like our brains are just trying to make decisions on all this information that's coming out. And you're right, with this political climate that we're in, I feel like everybody's political. It's on your Facebook page, people talking about it at school, talking about it at work, and it's not politics, it's just being engaged in the decisions that are being made about your life. I'd hope you want to be in politics, and be engaged in that way.
Well, one of the ways that I'm able to, bring it back sometimes, because there are times when you walk into a room or you walk into a conversation or you look at a Facebook message and you're kind of like, this is my position, these people are wrong, without even thinking of how they could have gotten to that point. This is what I wrote in my planner for last week, and I'm going to carry it over to this week because I'm trying to eliminate this ego I have that's telling me that Michaela's right, Michaela's opinion is the right way or the highway, for others. I keep telling myself, Michaela, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. Stop talking. Start listening. Michaela, if it doesn't sound right, you don't know anything. Listen, analyze it, do your own research. And by telling myself that, it's helped me to stop taking my opinion and what I know and my accomplishments and saying, this is the right way, this is the best way to have done it, and start saying, wonder why. And that why word is so important because it allows us to explore. It allows us to dig deeper, to build connections, and to seek to understand before being understood. And so one of the things I would recommend to other people is to just tell themselves you don't know, and now listen and ask why questions and be open to the responses.
Yeah, I think that's our homework, right? The 5 whys, keep digging a layer deeper. Why is protesting a flag disrespectful to our, to armed services? Why would we consider this symbol to be equal to all given historical injustices? And, to continue, why would kneeling at a flag be a symbol of raising awareness? Why would that be successful? And just, I think you're right. It gets people away from the, I'm pro this or anti that, I'm for this and against that. It gets you into the zone of, I just want to understand how you came to the position that you're communicating to me now. Like, walk me back through the history of you getting to this place. And maybe along that route, that path that brought you here, I can identify a piece of information that's different from the information I'm using to come to my place. And it really is just constantly going back. I think they call it the ladder of inference, right? What is that ladder? What ladders am I climbing without any additional input from this person that I'm judging and making judgments about their opinions and whether or not they're right or wrong? That I need to check my assumptions or gather more data. And there's no better way to doing that than actually speaking to the person that you believe you understand and actually testing whether or not your assumptions are true.
And I would just say, to start to close it up, this is why I think America is probably is the best country on earth, because we can sit here and have these conversations. I look at, countries like North Korea, where it's like ingrained in you what you should believe, but not in America. We have the opportunity to think what we want to think, peaceful protest, communicate, to challenge the systems and stuff. So I think we're really primed to be in a position of change. And although I'm not a fan of Mr. 45, number 45, I honestly think that he's bringing awareness and like fueling the fire in a lot of folks to get engaged, to start rallying around, to start having dialogue on this. If he hadn't said anything, would we be talking about this right now? So I feel like there's something much greater beyond him that's working to really like bring this country together in preparation for 2020, however that's going to roll out. But, where there's darkness, there's equal light growing. And I just think we're on the precipice of like a cultural transformation right now. Mm-hmm. Excited.
Yeah, I guess I'll end with, I think Trevor Noah on The Daily Show once asked this, right? We're unhappy when people are blocking freeways. We're unhappy when it comes to, physically being out in the streets and rioting or protesting. And now we're unhappy when a person silently kneels, right, without saying a word. What type of protest and ability, right, to exercise the freedom to say something can be better here? I believe we have the power to do it. What other way are we looking for people to do that? Because if we're criticizing every single act of protest, we're really departing from the symbolism that these, from the meaning that these flags, symbols are meant to imbue. So I think that's a real deep question we need to be asking ourselves and getting through those whys in each of the conversations where people are landing at a conclusion without really understanding why people are having a problem with it in the first place.
Definitely. Deep thoughts, ladies. Lots of things for folks to consider. Some good takeaways there. I appreciate your candidness. This is what DICE is all about. And I look forward to the next conversation.
Bye.
Bye.